and they all look grayish, so in order to make the colors visible, I used software to stress the various colors in the image. Here we see the untouched full-resolution image, with reference, UI73S217, taken from CD volume, CL4077. Pictures contain a lot more information than most people are aware of, and with an image analyzer, we can make hidden data visible. Having analyzed this picture, I noticed that it had been manipulated by software, called Image Alchemy, version 1.11, but what exactly does this software do? On the website of Handmade Software Incorporated, we find a manual that explains what the software is capable of. As we can see, the software manipulates computer image files, but what makes it so special is that Image Alchemy can change the number of colors in an image and color space. Why would someone change colors in an image unless this someone does not want to reveal true colors? Clementine took images of the moon in the visual, ultraviolet and infrared spectrum. By using light reflectance and light absorption properties of material, we are able to determine composition, see abundance of water molecules, detect an alteration through heat or chemical processes, and if material corroded or eroded. This image comes from mapaplanetexplorer.com and it shows the Zeeman crater in the visual and ultraviolet light spectrum. Everything looks gray and dull, but once we emphasize colors, the surface starts to look different. The surface inside the smaller crater has changed from gray to blue. Notice that the blue material is concentrated inside the crater and on the crater rim, but outside, there is hardly any blue material. What would this crater and the moon surface look like in infrared? The material has turned into green. Again, we clearly see that the concentration of material is inside the crater. This raises questions. What is this material, and why is it located in the exact position of the smudged object? I am no industrial chemist, but to me, this looks like the result of a chemical reaction. By playing around with the wavelengths, we create more color variations. The image in the lower left corner is the result of a combination of bands 1, 5 and 3, but regardless the wavelength, the colorful material will always show up inside the crater. So this must mean something. Clementine images are unique, and uploaded to other websites, you would expect to see the same colors. However, it appears that someone does not want you to know the true colors of the material in the Zeeman crater. Let us take a look at another NASA website. Welcome to LMMP, which is a NASA website. We use the same base map, and select from the menu, the ultraviolet and visual image mosaic. Instant we see that this image is different, as there are no colors. This is a 100% grayscale image. Comparing the two images, we see a difference. What is the reason for NASA to upload a grayscale image instead of the original color version, and what is this colorful material we are not allowed to see? Perhaps in other material, we can find the answer. There are indications that suggest that Clementine's images may have been manipulated. Is the Zeeman crater hiding something? With bare eyes, the surface appears normal. This changes when we bring out more detail by sharpening edges. On the bottom of the crater, we see weird-looking objects. Are these rocks? Well, if these are rocks, then they are massive. Several hundred meters long and hundreds of meters wide, as this small crater is 22 miles in diameter, and over 2,000 meters deep. Look at the center of the image. Do you see this small chain of objects? Is this really a natural rock formation? I deliberately did not filter any compression artifacts, so you can see that these objects are not created by the software during the process of image enhancement. In the previous chapter, I showed you that the smaller crater contains material of various colors. When we take the original Clementine color image, would we not see these strange objects? Here are two images. The one on top is the original image from Clementine, and the lower image is the color-emphasized version. The blue and green colors we saw must be the weird objects, because the lunar surface around the objects has a different color, namely a light orange tone. There are people who question this observation, and who claim that these green and blue spots are color artifacts created during the processing of the film strips. Interesting theory, but when we look at the latest color image, taken by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, we see that my theory is confirmed. There is blue and green colored material inside the small crater. I will now reveal the alien machine, and for me, this is the most scary part, as how can I explain to you, who have never seen anything like this before, what it is? The object may seem unreal, as there is nothing like this on Earth, and there is no way to compare it with something else either. Take for instance the dimensions. The object is 57 kilometers long, 22 kilometers high and 5.5 kilometers wide. This means that it is 2 times the size of New York, and taller than any commercial airplane can fly. Can you possibly imagine what it would like when this object would be standing on Earth? The object on the original image is too small to perform enhancements on, so I had to increase the size of the object, for which I used photo zoom with the S-spline algorithm. Why did other investigators before me fail to reveal the object? The answer is very simple. In reality, there is no smudge. What we see is the result of a method of obfuscation, known as clipping, and conventional software simply will not work. Clipping is the conversion from one tone to a new gray or color tone, and by equalizing lighter and darker levels, this results in loss of detail. Details are still there, but our eyes simply can no longer see them. In our case, everything inside the clipped area turned to gray, and this looks like smudge. What remains a mystery is what software they used to perform this type of obfuscation. During the enhancement process, I noticed that the object was partially transparent and translucent, which made it more difficult to bring out details. Another problem I faced was that this was not a photo, but a composition, and the object therefore consisted of 12 film strips, with each their own brightness, contrast and gamma levels. Considering different lighting conditions, I needed to enhance each part individually. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Look at the red lines, and follow the contours. This alien machine matches the shape of the drawing. The Department of Defense already knew prior launch of the Clementine what it would look like and where they would find it. Or do you believe that they could look into the future, and knew that at the Zeeman crater, there would be a series of 12 missing data blocks that matches the shape? I know that for most of you it will be difficult to see details, so I will try to explain what I and others see. The object is three-dimensional, and the skin or hull consists of many parts or scales with different colors. The scales are flexible and extendable, which could move in every direction, so my theory is that we are dealing with a shape-shifting machine. Perhaps one of biomechanical nature, and I would describe it as a gigantic caterpillar, with multiple legs that crawls or walks over the moon's surface. As we all know, digital artifacts do not create shadows of their own. More evidence that we are dealing with something real, and not a missing data block. What you see here is the back of the machine, with a close-up of the leg. The lower part of the machine is fully flexible, and this would allow it to cross all kinds of terrain, and it even could climb mountains. Here we are halfway the machine, where the long extendable neck starts. Next to the end of the large scales, near the yellow arrow, we see these small black lines, which in my view are shadows. There are brighter parts as well, which indicates that it might reflect sunlight, or emit light itself. The machine seems to have an upper body, made of flexible scales, and a lower body, constructed of flexible bundled cables or strings. By using different levels of contrast, I managed to make other and more details